Mr. Murat Kolbaşı, Coordinating Chairman of Turkey Asia Pacific Council, Mr. Turgut Erkeskin, Chairman of Turkey Logistic Business Council, Mr. Doruk Keser, Chief Representative of İşbank, Shanghai Office, and Board Member of Turkey-China Business Council. As Chairman of Turkey-China Business Council of Foreign Economic Relations Board, DEİK, it's a pleasure for me to address you today. I would like to thank the representatives of Linglang Special Economic Area for their valuable support. Special thanks to our panelists for their time. They are here today with the aim of bringing their sectoral perspectives in terms of investment opportunities in the Linglang area. Foreign Economic Relations Board of Turkey is a business platform that has been continuing its activities on a voluntary basis for 35 years in order to increase investment and trade between countries. We continue our work with the understanding of business diplomacy. We have 146 business councils all over the world, such as Turkey-China Business Council, operating since 1992. During this tough period of global COVID-19 pandemic, we have organized multiple of online meetings, probably more than ever. We have adapted to the changing circumstances and met with our partners, counterparts via online platforms. It's better to be seeing face-to-face, but also these online platforms sometimes becomes efficient as well. In today's meeting, we will have a perspective of what kind of opportunities Linglang area offer to foreign investors, logistic, financial, tax advantage of the area in particular. Following the presentations, together with our panelists, we will try to elaborate the advantages of the area by receiving our participants' questions. Prior to the presentations, I would like to briefly mention the current developments in China and the Asia-Pacific region. As the largest economy in Asia and the second largest economy in the world, China is not only an export-oriented country, but also a country that promotes domestic consumption and import. As a result of the objective to make the Chinese economy more resilient against the crises that have negative effects on global supply chains and trade, China launched a new economic development strategy, dual circulation, suggesting a model that emphasizes a balanced relationship between internal and external circulation, opening up while prioritizing innovation as the primary driving force behind the development. China International Import Expo, that has been organized for the first time in 2018, is a clear indication of the significance given to import in China, for China. On the other hand, as part of economic reforms and policy of opening to the world, China established 21 pilot free trade zones since 2013. These free zones offer preferential policies for the import, manufacturing, exporting of goods, tax incentives, and fast-tracked procedures for investment. Free trade zones in China have played significant roles in stabilizing the country's foreign trade and foreign investment amid the COVID-19 pandemic. In the first half of 2020, the total trade value in China, 18 FTS, surpassed 2.2 trillion yuan, accounting for 15.6% of the national total. Ladies and gentlemen, in November 2020, the 10 countries of ASEAN and 5 Asia-Pacific countries, China, Japan, Korea, Australia, and New Zealand, have agreed on a major trade deal that covers 30% of the world's population and GDP. The signing of the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, RCEP, has created the world's largest free trade zone, stretching from the border of Kazakhstan to the South Pacific. The role of Asia-Pacific region on global economy is expected to expand ever increasingly as a result of important integrations like Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership, RCEP, ASEAN, and China's massive Belt and Road Initiative. As DEİK Turkey-China Business Council, we are closely following these developments. We are planning to publish our second report on Belt and Road Initiative in the light of post-COVID-19 global developments. We continue our efforts on creating awareness on positioning Turkey in Belt and Road Initiative, considering the potential cooperation opportunities in the projects and the reciprocal freight train that enables foreign trade in a more convenient manner. We hopefully believe that this initiative will turn Turkey's theoretical advantages and privileges into practical benefits. Dear participants, the global pandemic has increased the need for many businesses to reconsider their supply chains, with a number of key trends emerging, such as regionalization, digitalization, nearshoring, reshoring, and rebasing of manufacturing. After entering into force, RCEP, the largest free trade area, is expected to play a critical role in global supply chains and trade. In light of these developments, I believe today's meeting will give a perspective, especially to the companies that consider to invest in the region and be a permanent trade partner with Asian counterparts. Last but not least, as Turkey-China Business Council, I would like to say that we are committed to contribute to the existing trade and investment relations between our countries, and we hope this meeting will offer an insight to our business community. Now, I would like to call upon Mr. Christian Boza for his presentation on Linglang's Special Economic Area. Mr. Boza, the floor is yours.
Hello. Can everyone hear me?
Duyuyoruz.
You can share your screen.
Okay, so I introduce everyone. Okay, first of all, I want to thank everyone who is in Turkey for joining us in this webinar. Just to give a quick introduction of our team here. Yes, I'm Christian, project manager of the service center at Lingang Special Area. To my left is Ms. Bai. She is in charge of our department. And then to the left, we have Mr. Zhen, project Director. And then across me is the lovely, my colleague, Lin Shi. She was helping us with arranging this webinar. And then Mr. Wu, who is in the Financial Service Center department. So without further ado, we'll start the presentation because we have so much limited time. And I'm sure you guys are anxious to get to the 1 hour Q&A session. This first slide, basically what we're trying to show is Lingan's special area, how it's connected to other free trade zones all over the world. And hopefully Turkey will be one of our next partners that we'll cooperate with. I want to just give a quick overview of what I will be speaking in this presentation. I will just give a short overview of Lingan's special area, also a general introduction of the different zones in our area. Then I will move on to the modern service industry, which is the zone that our company itself focuses on. And I will share some advantages just on a general basis. As I mentioned before, our colleagues, Mr. Wu and Mr. Zhang, will give more in-depth information. And then I will just tell you a few things about our company. All right, so let's start with the overview. Here in this slide, we basically can see the different free trade zones that have been open in China since 2013. There's been about 21 new free trade zones open all over China, which actually shows China's strong commitment to building an open world. China has been a long facilitator of globalization. In 2019, just last year, well, almost a little over a year ago, the Shanghai officially launched the new free trade zone Lingan special area. As you mentioned, also there's been the new trade, the biggest free trade deal that was signed just a couple of months ago with the Asian countries and 15 other total countries. This makes up to 29% of the world trade and 30% of the global population. It's important to note that the Lingan special area, the new free trade zone, is actually not an expansion of the free trade zone, nor is it a duplicate of existing policies. Based on the president's remark of the 5 important elements, Lingan special area has the best policies, the best possible policies. So, for example, any new policies that are published in Shanghai are directly applied to Lingan special area, if beneficial to our development, of course. Number 2, policies in the free trade zone, all of the free trade zones in all of China are automatically applicable to Lingan special area. Number 3, Lingan special area is given support to benchmark against the highest standards and best practices. Now, let's talk about the geographic advantages of Lingan special area. Lingan special area has tremendous geographic advantage. One of them has an integrated transportation system, which means it benefits from air, land, rail, metro, sea, and river transportation. Number 2, it sits on one of the most important economic zones, the Yangtze River Delta. Together with the Pearl River Delta, they account for about 50% of the country's GDP. This makes Lingan special area a hub linking Shanghai to other cities in the Yangtze River Delta and around the world. Now, shown in red is Lingan special area. It sits on the southeast tip of Shanghai. It's south of Pudong International Airport and north of the Yangshan Deep Sea Port, one of the largest cargo ports in the world. special considerations have been taken to ensure the most convenient and fastest ground transportation. So there's an airport express line that arrives from Detroit Lake to the airport in about 15 minutes. There's also another line that connects you to Pudong, takes about 30 minutes, and also is under just 16 minutes to get to Hongqiao Airport. There's also a bridge that's under construction which eventually connect Lingan Special Area to the important city of Ningbo. Currently, it takes about 3 hours. After the bridge is fully constructed, it'll take about 1 hour and 30 minutes. Now, Lingan Special Area has a planned area for development of about 873 square kilometers. This is what you see in the black line, okay, this area here, as well as the southern part of Pudong International Airport and part of the Xiaoyangshan Island. To give you an idea how big this area is, just think about Singapore, but slightly larger. Now, the startup area, however, is 119 square kilometers, which is what you see highlighted in red, also Pudong Airport. The idea here is to build another Pudong, but different. As of 2019, the GDP of the entire city of Shanghai was about 3.4 trillion RMBs, while Pudong's GDP was 1.2 trillion RMBs. Now, keep in mind that Pudong took about 30 years to develop. Lingan Special Area, on the other hand, has a target of 1 trillion RMBs in 15 years by 2035. So this is actually an impressive target in half the amount of time. Based on the 5 and 10 year development plan, Lingan Special Area has developed 2 general goals. One is to build an economic function zone, and 2, to build a modern new city. Now, as a special economic function zone, Lingan Special Area Lingan Special Area was created to facilitate a rapid economic growth in the region. Benchmark against the world recognized free trade zones, Lingan Special Area is set to promote business and trade laws that are different from the rest of the country and introduce new financial policies aimed at encouraging new business set up in the area. Now, there are many districts in Shanghai that house many foreign companies. However, unlike those districts, an advantage of Lingan Special Area is that we're building state-of-the-art and modern facilities for the service industry. And this will create a city that's both suitable not only for working, but also for living and settling down. Now, just to briefly talk about the different zones, here we show 2 zones. In pink is the Global Innovation Zone, and in blue we have the High-End Industry Zone. I won't mention much, except for in the Innovation Zone, once a year we hold the World Laureates Forum, which is basically we gather top scientists and Nobel Prize winners. They sit together and they talk about science and tech issues. Last year's already, of course, happened. This year's going to happen, so keep an eye on that. Now, the high industry zone. One example that I want to talk about in this area is the Tesla Gigafactory. A lot of you may know the Tesla Gigafactory, how successful it is, but may not know actually why it's actually successful. So Tesla had a goal to procure the land to construct this facility and to produce 1 car all under 1 year. Now, if you have, some of you have some construction background, you may know that some permitting works take about 3 months, right? Sometimes more. In this area, however, it took 5 days. So this, some people call it the Lingan speed. Lingan Special Area is about trade facilitation. And by the way, Mr. Zhen will speak, give more details about the Yangshan Special Comprehensive Bonded Zone. But Here's the word special, and I want to emphasize why is this area so special. There are many areas in Shanghai, all over China, that have the title comprehensive zone. There are areas that have the title bonded zone, but there's only one area in China that has a title special comprehensive bonded zone, and that's the area here. Just to give you one example, how special this area is, goods can move in and out of custom clearance. This means that normal business activities of enterprises will not be interfered by customs. Now, another good example is that there's unnecessary trade supervision, permits, and processes have been removed. These allow enterprises to take delivery of goods more efficiently, thus speeding up the logistics for cross-border e-commerce companies. Now, another zone, as I mentioned before, that our company focuses on is the modern service industry zone. It is worth noting that our company, we are the main developer for this area. Our company was the the first company that was registered in this area, and it's worth to say that it's not easy to register a company under our name. So this just goes to show how special our company is, the authorities and the connections that we have with local government. Now, the modern service industry zone has a planned area of about 20 million square meters. It is positioned north of Dishui Lake at a very core, and it will be transformed as the new modern downtown of Lingang. The modern service industry zone is being developed with state-of-the-art infrastructure, such as sophisticated transportation. If you recall before, I mentioned that there will be an airport express line that is connected to Pudong Airport, which will take about 15 minutes. There's also plenty of subway lines, public spaces and institutions, for example, banks, parks, hospitals, schools, cultural facilities, etc. Additionally, this area is designed as a sponge city. So if you're not familiar with this term, basically what a sponge city is, the idea behind it is to collect rainwater and reuse it. So it helps at reducing flooding. By the way, Lingang Special Area is the biggest sponge city in China. Now, the very core of the modern service industry is the Dishui Lake Financial Bay. Here we have over 1.5 million square meters of space that are specifically for financial institutions, law firms, trading groups, insurance, etc. Our aim here is to create a new financial center of Shanghai, with policies that allow us to be innovative and open to new business models. So we have a few examples here of the very first projects of its kind. For example, the first asset management joint venture by Amundi and Bank of China. The first fintech company initiated by foreign financial company, HSBC Fintech Company, and the first legal service center in China. Something that's important to note as well is that this area will be completed by 2023. So it's a good idea to start looking into it and seriously consider register an office before space runs out. Here in this slide, basically, I won't say much, but I am just trying to show the work in progress. Some of the high-level, world-recognized architects that we're working, for example, Innet Architects, SOM, group of architects, just to name a few. This just proves you that how serious we are at building state-of-the-art modern new facilities. Legal and Special Area, we're building platforms that will help investors obtain information, connect with the government and potential clients. Here we show platforms that are under development. Currently, we have 3 platforms, which you can see on the right. the International Talent Service Hub, the Innovative Financial Service Center, and the Legal Center. The International Talent Service Hub basically is one building that houses human resources companies. It houses government institutions all under one roof, basically to provide a one-stop service solution with all matters related to HR. The Innovative Financial Center that operates under the first stripe principle. Basically, what they do is they gather as well government regulators, industry leaders in finance and in industrial companies. They look at policies that are working in other countries, and they want to basically see how it applies in our area and how we benefit the existing and future businesses. The Legal Service Center, which by the way is the only area in China that allows arbitration institutions to set up their businesses here. So it is especially beneficial to foreign companies because some foreign companies may not be used to the Chinese legal system. All the platforms, as I mentioned before, are under construction. Now let's talk about some of the advantages. This is what actually makes up Lingang special area a hot zone. Let's talk about the tax incentives. In some areas of Shanghai, the corporate income tax is about 25%, but in our area is 15% for 5 years. Of course, that we are targeting the key industries, which are artificial intelligence, integrated circuit, aviation, and biomedicine. Other tax incentives that we have are for individual income tax to overseas talent. So this basically depends on your yearly salary, which range you fall, and then you can apply for reimbursement at the end of the year or the following year. We also have talent settlement. So as a foreigner, it's especially helpful that you can apply for a work permit, for more than 2 years and a permanent residence for 5 years. In other areas in Shanghai, where I was working before, for example, I could only apply for 1 year. Every year I had to apply for a new work permit and a permanent residence permit. Here is actually much easier. Streamlined procedures, as I mentioned before, remove unnecessary licenses and regulations. And more helpful is actually virtual registration. So for some companies that are abroad and are looking to enter China but are unable because of the recent pandemic, well, this is an easy way to get started. Lingang special area is an ideal place to live in. We have low housing price. The rental of housing in Lingang is a lot cheaper than other areas in Shanghai. For example, if you want to buy an apartment that costs 2 million RMBs, it'll cost you about 10 million RMBs in other parts of Shanghai. We have good education system and high green space coverage. In fact, the downtown of Lingang has a water and green coverage ratio of about 60%. And for those who are concerned with air pollution, the air quality index remains to under 30. Now, a little bit about our company. As I mentioned before, we're not only a development and construction company, but we're developing platforms to basically accompany you throughout the entire process. So whether it's doing the company registration or helping you with recruitment, connecting you with the government, and even introducing you with potential clients who are here to help you throughout the entire process. So that is basically the end of my presentation, and I will hand it over to Mr. Wu.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Hello. English.
Thank you, Mr. Boza, for your very illustrative and very expressive presentation. So we are ready to talk now, Mr. Wu.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you, Mr. Wu.
Okay. Thank you. Well, hello everyone. Next, I will give a brief speech about the innovation of financial policies in Lingang Special Area. Currently, as the President Xi speaks to the world, the openness of China will only will become wider and wider. The RMB and foreign currencies are changeable here in China, but as many foreign companies feel that sometimes you will feel some difficulties in change currencies in China. So as China is opening wider, we are trying to find new ways to make the change of make the foreign exchange more convenient and free. But at the same time, the government wants the process is under control and make a steady progress. So that's become part of the mission of Lingang Special Area. In Lingang Special Area, we are going to design a system for the convenient and free foreign exchange. But at the same time, we want to find a system for risk control. So back to the missions of establishing Lingang Special Area. The government wants the area to benchmark against the most competitive free trade zone in the world, and to promote deeper, broader, and more intensified openness in high level and all fields. So in the overall plan issued by the Chinese State Council, by 2025, the Lingang Special Area will establish free investment and trade environment, significantly strengthen the economic performance and competitiveness. And by the 2035, this area will become a very important place for China to join the world competitions. And to achieve such goals, the Lingang Special Areas are pushing policy innovation in all fields. The finance and the related areas are working different ways to do that. In finance, we are trying to design an open and free system, and we are attracting many top finance institutions like the asset managers and the finance technology companies. And in the legal sector, we are attracting foreign arbitration institutions to doing business and gathering in this area. And as my colleague Boza spoke earlier, we are trying to make the tax system more convenient and more easier for the foreign companies to accept. And we are trying to achieve these reforms by two ways. The first way is the government in Beijing will approve certain adjustments of laws for Lingang Special Areas. And the second way is, as the local authorities, we will hand up some adjustment advice to Beijing and make some change in practice. And in finance sectors, the basic principle of the financial policy innovation is try first. I think in 2020, the Valentine Day, the February 14th, the People's Bank of China and the China Banking and Insurance Regulatory Commissions and the other finance regulation departments, they print a document to support Shanghai become an international finance center and specialized for the Lingang special area to establish international finance business center. So that become 30 points, and I will conclude that to two mentions. The first mention, two dimensions. The first dimension is to become more convenient and free for cross-border flows in Lingang special area, and the second dimension is become more openness for the financial and the related industry companies. So for the cross-border flows, after 1 year, we have achieved in four areas for the cross-border flows. The first one is we have a simple account system for companies in the special area. The foreign companies in the Lingang special area, they don't need to open a special account for the FDI capital, which means that when you invest capital from the foreign countries to Shanghai, you don't need to open a special account. This account used to be supervised by the government of China. They will have, as before, the account will limit the use of the money you transfer from outside to China. But currently, in Lingang special areas, the foreign companies will not need this account. So that will reduce many limitations for the foreign companies to use their monies in their accounts. And we are design and establish a system for the RMB and foreign currencies. Currently in China, you need to many accounts for RMB and certain foreign currencies. You need an account for RMB and you need an account for the dollar, and then maybe you need another account for Japanese yen. But in Lingang special areas, we are designing a one-count system for all the currencies. So when this system achieved, the foreign companies in Lingang special area will only need one count for all the currencies. And the second part is fast cross-border settlement. Currently in Lingang special areas, we can process the cross-border settlements for RMB in 1 day and with no documents on the counters. You can hands up the documents all online. And the regulation department of Chinese government will carry the post review for the banks. So the banks will process your settlement applications with no documents before, and maybe you can send the documents to the banks later after you finish the settlement. And the third part is we are supporting various international trade mode. I think this include many include the intermediary trade, like a company in China maybe ordered in Korea and send the ship to maybe to Turkey. Yeah, the goods may not enter into China, but you can still finish the finance service in China. And I think before that, in China, doing such business is reviewed by the government. So the government wants such new modes of international trade can have a huge growth and development in Shanghai. So they are encourage this kinds of trade and trying to design a suitable foreign exchange review system. And the fourth part and the last part is the openness of capital account. In the Lingang special areas, the Chinese government will allow the company to try into some business in asset transfer, such as the domestic trade finance asset. And the companies can apply to set the cross-border cash pool. This cash pool will allow the company, especially the foreign companies, to borrow monies to borrow monies from outside China and transfer such monies into Shanghai or other place inside China. That will benefit the companies to finance from the international market. We have some case for the cross-border flows. I think time. So I'll briefly show some pictures, and maybe these materials will offer to you to check later. Okay. And another dimension is attracting the international finance resource. Currently, China is open to foreign companies to set new banks, asset managers, and fintech companies, and other financial institutions. The foreign companies will allow to wholly own the banks and the asset managers and such companies in China, which is not allowed before. I think my colleague mentioned the Amundi and the BOC joint venture, which is the asset managers in China under the banks system. And also we have helped the HSBC set their first fintech companies in China. So I think that's my part. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, take a water.
So we will continue Mr. Xiangman's presentation.
Let me see.
Biraz hızlanmak gerekiyor.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. This is Eric from Shanghai Lingang Special Area kind of Economic Development Company, and I'm currently in charge of the Investment Service Center as General Manager. I would like to give you some brief introduction with regard to Yangshan Free Trade Zone. I think Chris has already covered most of the Lingang area and the Yangshan part. Well, the Yangshan Free Trade Zone, as you can see, locates in the south of Shanghai along the Eastern China Sea. In January 2020, the State Council approved the establishment of the Yangshan Free Trade Zone, which covers 3 areas, namely Luchao Port, this area, and Xiaoyangshan Island, where the Yangshan container terminal locates, and the southern part to PVG, Pudong International Airport. And on 12th of May 2020, Yangshan Free Trade Zone Phase 1 passed the joint acceptance inspection of 8 ministries, such as General Administration of Customs, and become the only special comprehensive bonded area among 150 plus customs areas in China. Because the Yangshan Free Trade Zone, literally in China, it means Yangshan Special Comprehensive Bonded Area. And here's a history of Yangshan from a bounded port area upgrade to Yangshan Free Trade Zone. As you can see, it's a lot of number ones in China or Shanghai's history. It was the first bonded port area approved by the State Council, and it's a part of the world's largest container terminal, and it's also the first free trade pilot zone approved by the government in China's history, etc. And till May 12th last year, it was upgraded to the special comprehensive bonded zone. The economic development indicators of Yangshan Free Trade Zone. Well, the figures are up to 2019's. The statistics of 2020 hasn't come out yet, but you can see a little bit, trend of the economic development. In 2019, the Yangshan Free Trade Zone achieved a total operating income of 380 billion yen. It's an increase by around 9% over last year. And a big part comes from the shipping and logistics service, which is around 138 billion yen. It takes 75% of Shanghai total. The total import and export volume of Yangshan reached 86.6 billion yen in 2019. Increased by 1.2% over 2018. But the export amounts to 31 billion yen, increased a lot because China is export-oriented, especially in the Yangtze Delta area. Total tax revenue in 2019 is around 12 billion yuan. Also increased by 71% over 2018. some of the development of the Yangshan Free Trade Zone, the total number of enterprises is more than 2,000 plus, and out of which there are a lot of quite a big number of regional distribution centers. There are more than 100 distribution centers in the Yangshan Free Trade Zone. And the volume of commodity trade exceeded 200 billion yuan in year 2018. Companies in the commodity trade up to 400. There are more than 400 companies are doing commodity trade in this area. And the percentage of cross-border e-commerce kinds of Shanghai total is around 50% of the Shanghai total. I remember just replying an answer from one of the audience saying in their special e-commerce cross-border area in Yangshan, the answer is no. There is no such an area specifically for e-commerce, cross-border e-commerce, but there are a lot of stuff going on in the Yangshan Free Trade Zone regarding e-commerce, and also for the import cold chain food. As I mentioned before, the area distribution center, Asia Pacific distribution center, is main business in this area. Also for the automobile and auto parts industry, the cold chain food and cosmetics, commodity trade, cross-border e-commerce, and also some upgraded business as bonded maintenance and repair, bonded ship supply, etc. Up to year 2020, we have more than 40 Fortune 500 companies which have located in the Yangshan Free Trade Zone. The number has increased a lot comparing with year 2019. These are the logos of those companies, including the Fortune 500 companies. And in the future, we are going to further develop the industry in this area to three major platforms, which are international supply chain management, the national high-end manufacturer and related service, cross-border comprehensive service, which covers the what we call 10 international service centers in Shanghai. As I mentioned in the very beginning, there are an opening ceremony of Yangshan Free Trade Zone on May 16th, 2020, right after the area passed the inspection of the ministries from the State Council. And there are quite a few companies started their business on that day, which including some quite famous international companies. like a Cargill or a GSP, a GLP, Maersk Line, etc. And some of the local domestic company like a Shanghai Pharma and Bao Steel. But these are the different difference on the customs regulation regulatory policies in Yangshan area comparing with other customs areas. The main differences is there are no customs account book in this area, and no more customs e-account book, and the frontline entry release comparing with frontline entry registers in other customs area, which is a big reform, I would say, in China, which gives us a lot of convenience in physical operations in this area, in the logistics industry. There are some recent development on cross-border trade and e-commerce. By setting up a pre-export hub at Yangshan, there are quite famous e-commerce business called Newegg recently started a business in Yangshan with integrated supply chain solution and maintenance, competitive advantage in logistics, information, and sales management. And there are also a very famous biopharmaceutical company, Shanghai Pharma, also started the GSP certified distribution for import-export and medical products in the bonded warehouse, and where they can complete the transaction with free trade zone, within the free trade zone, and develop their domestic market at very low cost. We have some target and mission. As Chris mentioned, there are some key industries where which can enjoy some of the favorable corporate tax policy and some of the individual income taxation policies in the Giga area. I need to mention that some of the customs policies, such as e-supervision and inspection, quarantine, etc., can be enjoyed by some of the companies which start in these four industrial areas. Even they are registered not in the Yangshan Free Trade Zone, but within the Giga area. Well, at last I will introduce you some of the warehouse facilities in this area, which owns by our group. We have some 600,000 square meters of bonded warehouses in the Yangshan area, and there are also another 600,000 square meters which are under construction. Yeah, basically that's my introduction regarding Yangshan area. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ran. I understand that we will have these presentations. You'll be sharing with our presentations, so we will have those to our attendees as well. Now I would like to turn into our panelist, Mr. Murat Kolbaşı. I would like to give the floor to you.
Thank you very much, our president, and thank you very much for the all information. Now I would like to turn to Turkish because I know there is a translation is available for both sides. So I will continue in Turkish. Herkese teşekkür ediyorum. Bu prezentasyon ve organizasyon için başta Korhan Başkan'a, Çin tarafına ve Türkiye'den katılan tüm DEİK dostlarına ve tüm izleyicilere hoş geldiniz diyorum. Bu prezentasyonla ilgili detay sorulara geçmeden önce şöyle bir konuyu da netleştirmek istiyorum. Çin hakkında serbest bölgeler toplamda 21 tane. Özellikle son dönemde Hainan serbest bölgesi çok ön plana çıkıyor ve bununla ilgili bir prezentasyon da dinledik. Şunu merak ediyorum ve soruyu karşı taraftaki cevaplayacak olan başkanlardan birine bırakıyorum. Spesifik olarak bu serbest bölgenin Hainan ve diğer serbest bölgelerden bir farkı nedir? Neden tercih etmemiz gerekiyor? Onu bize daha net bir şekilde söyleyebilirler mi diye öğrenmek istiyorum. Duyuldu diye düşünüyorum karşı taraftan.
Ben de öyle zannediyorum.
Did you hear my question? Excuse me, did you hear my question? Are they translate to you?
Hello.
Hello, did you receive my question?
Who is the question for?
I'm asking to one of you. I cannot say who is going to have the idea about differentiation between the trade zones, especially Hainan. That's why one of you can reply, if you don't mind.
Well, I'll try to answer your question. The difference between Shanghai and Hainan, well, I would say fundamentally these two areas are totally different. You know, Shanghai is an industrial city. You know, the industry takes quite a big percentage of the China total industrial you know, manufacturing and export. But Hainan, the base of basically there are no industries in Hainan except for tourism. So the policy is more focused on personal consumption at this stage. But Shanghai, you know, these policies are most favorable for different industry, including the four major industries like IC or AI, or as I said, biopharmaceutical or aviation. I don't know if I answered your question. But,
for the first stages, thank you very much.
First, we are waiting for more details in Hainan. And second, we think Hainan is approaching to offshore land, and which is similar to the Yangshan Free Trade, Yangshan Comprehensive Special Comprehensive Boundary Zone in Lingang Special Area. And the third point is for a foreign company to doing business in China. Shanghai is more close to the main market of Chinese domestic market, and Shanghai will have more resource in finance and industries to support the business. That's my point. Thank you.
Okay. Korhan Başkan, ben sözü size bırakayım.
Evet. Ben de panelistlerimize bizim tarafta sormak istiyorum. Onların değerlendirmeleri, soruları varsa Turgut Bey, size bırakmak isterim sözü.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon to our dear friends from China and good morning to our participants from Turkey. Thank you for the in-depth analysis of both areas, Lingang and Yangshan. I'm going to look to the both areas from the logistics point of view. First of all, I would like to emphasize the importance of logistics infrastructure for the development of the trade in between our countries and regions. You may have heard that Turkish government has got a new initiative to establish logistics centers abroad to energize our export and import operations overseas. One of the target country is China. Therefore, your presentation is very important for us. The reason of the importance is especially to reach out to the Chinese market, as well as via China to the ASEAN region, as well as the newly formed economic agreement RCEP area. In this extent, well, while taking for the in-depth analysis of both areas, I'm little bit puzzled, or probably I would need some more detail as regards to difference between Lingang and Yangshan in terms of logistics. Both areas has got advantages. How would you differentiate both areas from each other from the logistics investment point of view? I understand both has got some preferential customs procedures. Both of them is energized for cross-border e-commerce activities, but which one is offering better or which one is different than the other and in which terms? I understand Yangshan is close to the seaport, but both of them are within the probably same vicinity. Therefore, again, I would like to ask you, how would you differentiate these two areas from logistics point of view? After this, if my chairman allows me, I will have one or two more questions as well. Thank you very much.
Hello. Regarding your question about the difference between Yangshan and Lingang, actually, Yangshan is a part of Lingang area, and the port, the container port, is located in the Yangshan Island, which is a small island connected with a bridge to the mainland of Lingang area. So the Yangshan, in the past, it was a small island, and then about 70 years ago, the government started to build a deep water terminal in some area offshore Shanghai. So that's why there is a Yangshan terminal. And the bonded warehouse locates in the mainland of Lingang, another part of the bridge, in the other end of the bridge, a small area which is around 6 point something square kilometers, and it's a physical fenced area at the moment, where there are a lot of bonded warehouses in the area, which I basically covered in my presentation. So the Lingang area is quite big. It's 873 square kilometers. It's a city. the Yangshan area is a port. Is that clear to you?
Yes, indeed. And my understanding is that a logistics investment or logistics development should be done in Yangshan.
Well, let's say if you want to start your warehouse operation, maybe Yangshan is a good choice. But if you want to open a company, you can open it anywhere in the Lingang area.
Okay, and then the second question would be this. In your presentation, it was clear that there is a 600,000 square meter of bonded warehouse and another of this size going to be introduced soon. So how do you operate this warehouse? The operation is entirely under the control of an operating company, or as a, for instance, logistics company, we can get, say, 10,000 square meter for our own use and we offer our service through this. Or do you have
those bonded warehouses? We built those bonded warehouses, but it's open for leasing. You can lease those facilities to start your.
There is also an option that we can use facilities of the system based on pay per use kind of system. Is that right?
Yes, I think so.
And the last one is that if we come with our organization, you know that we are the delegates of DEİK, the Foreign Economic Relations Board. If we, DEİK, as the semi-governmental organization, would like to invest in this area,
okay,
our government is supporting this initiative, what would be probably additional incentives that we can get from the authority or management of Yangshan Free Zone? Would there be any?
Well, logistics, the government policy for logistics is not, as good as for those four key industries. So, yeah, you can enjoy some favorable policies for this logistic program, but not as good as I mentioned, in the corporate income tax or other.
Okay, thank you very much. And in this case, I would like to, or we would like to, stay in touch with you to understand.
No problem. We can talk. We can discuss it later.
All right.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much.
Çok teşekkürler Turgut Bey. Doruk Bey, sizin sorularınızı, komentlerinizi alabilir miyiz?
Tabii ki Korhan Bey, teşekkür ederim. Müsaadenizle ben de İngilizceye geçeyim, herhalde daha direkt ve hızlı oluyor. First of all, I would like to thank you, Mr. Xiang, Mr. Wu, and Mr. Boza for the presentations. It's a pleasure to get these insights from you. Actually, let me introduce myself first. I am the representative of one of the biggest Turkish private banks in China. We are operating here as a representative office for 14 years, and I have been here for more than 5 years. And it was a privilege. I visited last month and saw with my eyes that Lingang is so quickly developing. And maybe our friends forgot to mention, but the area is as big as, even bigger than the Singapore. So it's a huge project. First of all, a real estate project. Second, as the delegation mentioned, it's a big, huge production and logistics and shipment project. So my question is, at this point, I have two main questions. One is related to the general strategy of Lingang connecting Turkish business, which is very important for us. The second one is the finance. So the first one, maybe Mr. Xiang, if you can follow me, I can directly ask to you, is that during the COVID-19, we have seen that lots of problems have occurred in the supply chains and logistics because China grew much more than the, first of all, positively than the rest of the world. And there is a more imbalance in trade between China and other countries because China is increasing the exports, but other countries which are locked down cannot produce as it was and ship to China. So there is a bottleneck in most of the ports like European Union, UK, US, and the recovery of China is very fast. So I would like to ask at this point, taking into consideration that now the shipping costs is a huge problem for the traders, importers and exporters, and the shipping costs from Turkey to Europe, for instance, Italy, one container is around $700. However, on the other hand, from Shanghai to the same port in Italy, it costs more than 10 times, like $10,000. So at this point, I would like to ask you, is there any possibility that entrepreneurs or your management think about using the Turkey's logistic facilities as a hub to reach to Europe, optimizing these costs of logistics and leveraging on the opportunities of Turkey's investment landscape? So my first question is this one. If you like, I can stop here and would like to get your insights on this.
Well, I think it's a national strategy. So I think the Europe market is very important to China and also including the Turkish market. And we see as the One Belt and Road initiatives mentioned by the President Xi. After that, many Chinese shipping companies invest in such international pivotal hub. I think the biggest case is maybe is in Greece, near to Turkey. And in the future, I think the mode of Greece seaport is very successful. Is very successful. So I think the Chinese companies and the Chinese government are talking about and discussing about the future opportunities in such areas, and also as to me, the Lingang group also have a seaport in Belgium. Yes, so maybe in the future we will need an intermediate port or some hub to make our shipping routine more effective.
Okay, thank you for your answer. Okay, my second question, if my chairman allows me, is in the finance field. So you mentioned, Mr. Wu, very clearly that there will be an opening up and for the currency regime and for the transfers of in and out of Lingang special area. But I would like to ask you to more have a concrete answer on some of the problems of the companies from Turkey is living now, facing now, is first of all the foreign investors which open their companies in a free trade zone or mainland are new companies, and their problems about reaching big banks like Bank of China, ICBC or other banks, the name is not important, and getting a loan is quite difficult, as you know. And whenever they would like to get a foreign guarantee from their homelands like Turkey, There is another problem because of the capital controls. You have to file this to the SAFE and to the authorities in China. So foreign funding is difficult, and local funding for newly established companies are another hurdle. So I would like to ask at this point, what will be clearly the financing possibilities for Turkish entrepreneurs who just open an office, a small office, don't have any asset, don't have any sales yet, but do you have some supporting financing facilities, these kind of startups or newly established companies? Thank you.
Thank you. Regarding to this question, I think, regarding to these questions, I think it's part of the regulation problem, but it's also part to the business problem. I think to the business problems, I think it depends on the risk review of the banks. So for Chinese banks, they are thinking the credit risk when they are planning to provide a loan to a new company, especially this company is from foreign countries. They don't know the company very well. And I think in the business sectors, maybe the Turkish banks can trying to discuss a cooperation mechanism with Chinese banks. I think maybe we can try to find out a way to strengthen the bondage before the Turkish banks and the Chinese banks. And maybe the information provided by the Turkish banks will receive, accept, and used by the Chinese banks to make better decisions. And to the regulation part, I think the filing to SAFE may. Maybe currently you are thinking the filing to SAFE is difficult, but I think if the business is real and reasonable, I think the SAFE we can discuss with SAFE to make this process more easier and more simple. I think that's my opinion for this question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wu, for your answer. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all for now, since we have limited time.
Thank you. Thank you very much. If we don't have any more questions, I think we come to an end to a very useful meeting, and we have learned the opportunities and the procedures of Lingang area. And I would like to thank our panelists from the China side for doing all these informative, good informations to our Turkish side. And also our panelists, I would like to thank Murat Bey, Doruk Bey, and Turgut Bey. And I would also like to thank all the attendees that attended to this meeting. I think it was very useful. Doruk Bey, thank you very much. Also coming with this idea about this. I'm sure a lot of investors that is watching this panel has been very much clearly gained an understanding and hope that this will be a good step further to developing our relationships with China, and hope to see you all in the next seminar soon to discuss further about China and Turkey economic relations. So, Xie on the China side, thank you very much, and thank you all for the attendees. Herkese çok teşekkürler. Sevgiler.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Teşekkürler. Görüşmek üzere.
Thank you very much. Ciao.
Thank you.